Looks at the clock, turns the corner for the win.
That's right. Today we're hunting rabbits. It's cold in here. Sorry for my breath. It's just freezing. Yeah, let's go right into it. Last video we talked about, how the timeline is dwindling, and we talked about trading up in the draft. So I want to go straight to a comment so that we can keep the wheels moving here, because I want to keep the videos as short as possible because I'm long-winded, as you found out. Matthew Coombs, we were talking about trading up in the draft. He's nailed it. I think we're all on the same page. This is precisely what we want to do. We want to suss out how expensive is it to go up to number 2 to guarantee Mobley. He's the only reason to move up. There's no reason to go for a guy like Green because, as we've established in our videos, our best chance to go for it, given the cookie crumbs that we can see on the roster already, is to keep KLow, sign Gary Trent Jr., look for a center, hopefully in the next day and a half, and go into the draft still with our fourth overall pick. I think that the bottom line is, no matter which person we get, whether it's Mobley or now that people are starting to learn more about Scottie Barnes, I think they're starting to realize, like, hey man, this is a really good fit. And I think part of the problem was, there's a bit of brainwashing in terms of, like, too many people buying into the ESPN rankings where it's like the Jalen's have to go above everyone else for some reason. And the bottom line is, like I said in the last video, like, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So, like, every team's going to have a different version of what the best player available is. And that's always been the case. Like, that's how you stay the San Antonio Spurs of, the early 2000s, is that you stay afloat and you keep drafting. And the second piece of brainwashing, and I've said this for my very first video, is that the Raptors brass are willing to get rid of their culture and the championship DNA and attitude that they gained in 2019. They will never, never, never relinquish that. So rumors about any of the above, Boucher, Siakam, KLow, OG, and Freddie, are most likely fiction, because we're going for it. We have a great core, and we got the 4th overall pick. And just with a basic blue-collar pick and roller last year, like Kem Birch, our team looked great with injuries and with backups playing. Like, it's crazy to me to think that people really believe we're not going to re-sign KLow when the Lakers and Philly would love to have him for his money. Why the heck would we be getting rid of him? He's the best Raptor of all time. What are you talking about? He had a great season last year, and we chose to sit him so that we could tank. Like, why the heck would we not re-sign him? We can pay him more money than anyone. So all we're going to do is see what he fetches in the open market and match it like a restricted free agent. I've been saying it since my first video. If we get rid of KLow, it will be at a trade deadline when the team's shitting the bed and we need to blow it up. Otherwise, he's not going anywhere. That's the second piece of brainwashing, is everyone's draft is predicated on Suggs coming in and replacing KLow. But KLow's not gone. That's why Barnes and Mobley are the two, to my mind. Anyway, everyone, I could be wrong. I'll eat crow if I'm wrong. Thanks a lot for the comment, Matthew. It's definitely bang on. So, July 25th, we only have, 29th is draft. We have until tomorrow at, I think, midnight to use expiring contracts. So if we do this, as we've been commenting in some of the videos, chatting back and forth, if there's a move from the Raptors that brings in a big piece, I'm fairly certain that we are going for it with KLow. He'll be coming back at market value. And we're going to be making a run within the next 2 seasons because he'll want a 2-year contract. But we'll be making that run either with a big fish that we catch with the 4th overall pick, which we'll discuss a little in this video, or we'll be making a run with the 4th overall pick, which is amazing. Trading up and trading down could happen too. But essentially, we'll be going with a name that we feel takes us into a window. And as you'll see, I'm still like, I've always been and still will be a Scottie Barnes guy. But let's get into the video. So first and foremost, just like, subscribe. Keep your comments, guys. I love the comments. I just love talking basketball. Such an exciting time of the year. Hit the alerts if you want to know when new videos go up. And just in case you're not fully committed to Scottie Barnes yet, I've just I've just added another thing from his Instagram. This is him at the Black Lives Matter stuff. This dude is a solid leader. And when we have a leader like KLow that's going to go out in the next 2 seasons or 3 seasons or whatever and retire in the next little while, grooming a young guy like this is just another reason to look at this guy. Anyway, let's get to our hunting centers. Now, the thing to remember when we're hunting these centers is I wanted them to be non-expired contracts, so they need to be contracts that we can actually do this with. So I did a lot of research on this today, and they have to be available. So there's a lot of rumors going around about what centers we could go out and get. And they also have to be available now, within the next 2 days. So guys like Jarrett Allen are not available in the next 2 days. He's a restricted free agent. So this list has to be those kind of guys. And then there's another qualification that I've looked for here, and that's that they need to be wide-shouldered, bump and grind guys that can handle their own. Okay? So they need to be able to complement Chris Boucher. They need to be able to give us something that we don't have ever since we lost Marc Gasol. Okay? So let's take a look at what this list might look like. But first, we got to know, what are our carrots? What are we going to attract them with? So the circled ones are the expiring contracts that we might be able to use. And then, of course, we've got our stable of draft picks. Now, we could use something like Malachi Flynn and the 4th overall pick, or Chris Boucher, but I honestly prefer not to. And there was a great comment by one of you guys about moving Boucher for Bruce Brown or a Lakers move. We were discussing Montrezl Harrell, and we'll look at that a little bit here. But I gotta say, I really think Boucher is not just a good value, but he's also there's synergy here. He's re-signed in Toronto. He's a Canadian guy. He's only 27. Like, there's lots of reasons to like him, especially with the system and not having to retrain somebody. He's not a selfish dude. We got him for at least another season. So the next thing we're gonna look at is, now that we got our carrots, what can we get with these carrots? So here's the center of the future. No, I'm just fucking with you. So we're not getting the brow, but we can expect to get a pretty good list here. So like I said, I had certain qualifications that I looked at, and I feel like I've got a really good list. Okay, so I guess it's down here. I'm getting used to where my arms have to point the opposite way all the time. So yeah, we got a good list, and I love that JV's on there and Jakob Poeltl. So 2 old faces that I've never lost my love for. So yeah, we got wide body guys that excel in the pick and roll. Like we always say about JV, they don't necessarily defend it well, but that's why we're working in these zones. That's why we're doing these things in the first place with the Raptors systems. So is to make up for that. Now, if we get a guy like Evan Mobley, we don't have to worry about defending the pick and roll because he can handle it by himself. So don't forget about that factor with Mobley. Okay, guys. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the button here, and we're just going to roll through it, get to the end of the vid, because there's no sense holding back. I'll just give you my synopsis. So yeah, what can we do with this amazing, amazing list of players? And remember, we're looking for, there's some game changers here. There's some high contracts, some low contracts. The thing is, they need to be the type of guys to mix it up. And I've also included some rumor guys on here that I don't think are at all available. So let's go through and take a look at why I claim they're either on or off this list in terms of remaining. All right, so let's go through. Let's see how this runs. So Christian Wood, I already said he could be available if they're going for Mobley. Steven Adams could be available because they might be done training Jackson Hayes. And then a big fish that I think needs more chat is Karl Anthony Towns could be disgruntled. Can we put a package together? We would be challenging for the East, no problem with Towns, if we retain our assets, like our core team. So here's some youngsters. Wiseman, I've already said, he's too expensive and not worth it. Williams' body type is perfect, but I don't think the Celtics will be willing to move him. But I love Robert Williams for a compliment to Chris Boucher. So let's take Wiseman off the list. Too expensive. And here's two guys that would be great contracts. But Nurkic is, I think both of these teams want to keep these guys. I don't think they're staying on the list. So let's take them off. Next up, Vucevic. I love his contract. If the Bulls decide they fucked up and they should have gone for it, we might be able to get Vucevic with our 4th overall pick. Kristaps is too expensive for the risk. We're going for it. We can't risk it on Porzingis. He looked awful, but somebody's going to buy low and get a good return. Miles Turner, I'm telling you, is not available. Goja Batadze, I love this guy, and because he's behind Turner, he could be available. I would be inquiring about Batadze, but look at their team. Turner's going nowhere, guys. This is a team challenging for the championship. They just brought in Rick Carlisle. We're not getting Turner. That's a rumor. Bad rumor. People didn't even think about that one. And then the Lakers have Gasol, and Montrezl Harrell is set to actually sign his player option on the condition that they'll move him. So he could be available. Both these guys could be available right now. Harrell might be it later. And then these are two steals that I like. I like looking at Pirtle. Thomas Bryant started shooting threes. He looks really good. Great little contracts. Both of these guys, solid pick and rollers that have wide bodies and like to bang it up, draw a couple fouls. So all in all, we got a very good list left over here. So we got a big name in terms of like Vooch is probably the biggest name, the one you'd move the 4th overall pick for maybe. But is he? If the Bulls upper management decided they screwed up when they traded for Vooch, they might try and salvage it. And they're so tricky. I should have put their roster on here to show you. They're such a tricky team to try and gauge because a lot of people said Jeff Weltman from Orlando was like GM of the year for making that making all those trades that he did and getting the return he did for Vooch. But look again at Vucevic's contract. I'll just put him up at the screen again here. I have to find it. But just look at, like, his contract is so favorable. $24 million, and it's decelerating. So this year it's 24, and Weltman got him to sign it, so it's 22 next year. Like, it comes down $2 million. Like, it's the exact kind of contract we should be doing with KLow. Okay? So I bet you KLow gets market value, but we do like a decreasing amount that pays him to become a coach or a contributor in the franchise. Anyway, I'm really excited about this list. I hope we see somebody off this list in the next day and a half. Because if we don't, the guys that are on the assets column up there, only the picks will potentially remain, right? And then we're just left with, our regular roster. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. And yeah, hit the notification bell if you want the next vid. I think I'm going to be looking at trading down next. So if you're interested in trading down, I'd love to hear your comments. And then also I wanted to know, is there anybody that we could get in the next day and a half that you think is a game changer off some other team, whether it's a center or something else? Like, I think what we should be seeking is a wide-bodied, wide-shouldered center like this that can bang it up and relieve Chris Boucher. Because if we get any game that we get away with Boucher in the lineup as a center or OG, it's a steal because our defense is so sound when we have those guys on the floor, especially if you bring in a guy like Scottie Barnes that would be running like the point. Like, I'm salivating. Like, if you do triangle with like Chris Boucher, Pascal Siakam, and OG, okay, and then you got Freddie and freaking Barnes chasing guys. Like, if you haven't watched Barnes' defense, guys, anyway, I don't know what else to say. Be good to one another. Cheers.
This is Chef's Kiss approved. Mwah!